is able to produce this magic. That's what
undeniable. Like that's.
And remember when we used to say the slightest
flowers.
tweak to his body would ruin him, and he won't be able to be Steph Curry's a well-oiled machine. But he had a foot issue, he had the finger thing.
So I totally agree that we almost didn't have this, and that should inform how much we should love having it. Dominique, love this more. Dominique, I'm gonna bully you into loving Steph Curry by the end of the show.
I mean. I love it so much, and I think that the most impressive thing is what Ali just laid on us. The idea that they have possibly recreated this dynasty again, potentially, off of still with Steph at the middle of it, and Steph playing as well as he has. Like, I do think that it speaks to everyone in the organization, frankly, what they've done, but I'm not going to go full... Krause, and say that organizations win championships, not players. I think players do win championships, but that is the most impressive part. I think that is the recreation of Steph without actually recreating his game, but building around him again. I think that's outstanding and impressive and deserving of a coronation.
Wow, that was good. That was better. I could have used a little bit more, a little sloppier. Actually, is nice. To get a little explicit about
you talk.
it.
I'm gonna warm up. I'm gonna warm up.
Yeah. No, but we're okay. Dominique has now incepted me with the desire to just make fun of the Celtics now, because we can talk.
Yeah, I want to hop there for a second.
Because we can get to
done making love to the legend that is Steph Curry. Oh my God, it was so attractive. It was outstanding.
Can we just make our best? Okay, let's put a pin in Steph Curry by just making our best noise that we want to encapsulate how we feel now about Steph Curry, having discussed how we should feel about Steph Curry. Okay, Izzy, you go first. I'll go second. Dominique goes third.
That's what I felt.
Okay, this is what I got.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the Celtics. And so very mature. Let's move on to the Celtics for a bit. I want to hop back to the Warriors dynasty at the end.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do
things to talk about. But I want to skip to the Celtics. And there's some interesting parallels here between, the 2012 Thunder and the Celtics team, namely, the Jason Tatum ascendance. Now he got there and they couldn't quite get over the hump. I think it's really interesting to say this team was flawed in how they executed their offense, but they have so much talent. They're so young, but we know that can be so fleeting in the NBA. Do you expect to see the Celtics team back in the finals?
So I don't know if on the screen behind me we got to see what Alabaster was implying, which is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and I guess Marcus Smart are standing there with their arms around each other, watching with tears sort of trickling slowly down their cheek, like the Thunder did in 2012 when they lost to the Miami Heat. I don't know if that happened, but that's what Alabaster implied. What I want to point out about the Celtics and how optimistic they should be, the question is can you stop the Celtics offense from going from becoming the version of an offense that looks like it's being undermined by a cartoon oil slick, the real slipper,
like Marcus Smart can't stay on his feet. It's whoop, 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 and he's always just kind of falling down, right?
That part of it, is that actually intrinsic to how the Celtics play offense? Because the thing about the Celtics defense is actually that it was fine. I didn't expect them to do much better against the Warriors offense. What happened, though, is that the Warriors defense benefited from the fact that the Celtics offense kept on turning the ball over and over again. They are now 1-8, I believe, when they have more than 15 turnovers. Tonight was one of those nights. And what happens when your offense turns the ball over? The Celtics, their offense gets worse. And so that is part of it, right? This is all about transition, live ball opportunities to be.
Dominique was talking about coronation, and this was supposed to be, for some people, a Jason Tatum coronation. And Jason Tatum, he cannot escape that performance. He cannot escape that performance. He needs to own up to that, because from the very beginning, he was basically, and Dominique said we had a text thread going. Dominique said he was being aggressive, so that's okay. I was I respectfully disagree in my head, because he was only taking open shots. There was one open shot to make the 12-2, the game 12-2, and it was just just a wide open three. And Steve Kerr mentioned it early on. They weren't making the Celtics feel them, and he got a couple open shots. After that, it was essentially just passive basketball where he was apparently getting credit for being passive. And it didn't like, you look at Jaylen Brown, and yes, he had the 5 turnovers. It doesn't seem like he can dribble the ball more than once, and he does seem to sort of always want to go into traffic. But that dude was aggressive, taking shots, and frankly was 12 of 23 for 34 points. Jason Tatum was not doing that. And again, I'm telling you, I'm not going to go through it because it's boring to watch. But this is an entire list of just plays that he just bumbled from like the second quarter on, and it's just you can't, with that in combination with Marcus Smart playing like mind-blowingly bad at certain points of this game, I think they're going to have to really address some of the things because they got this close with some pretty large flaws.
How dare you divulge the stupid thing that I said in our group chat? That was, I think.
No, you were right at the time.
Yeah, I know. But you did.
Debatable
But
at the
you
time.
did. You did not present it that way at the time.
Dominique-
it was at the end of the first quarter, and I said he was aggressive, and now you're like, you said he was aggressive. Like I said he was aggressive the whole game.
For the
'cause
record,
he absolutely was passive.
for the
most of
record,
game.
Izzy has boxed Dominique into sounding like a presidential slave owner. Judge me by the standards of my time.
Oh gosh. So
It was
I
a
do.
different era.
I do. Yeah. The Jason Tatum stuff, like you can't escape it. You're right. The arguments about or the criticism that he's going to receive, he has received, is something that just comes with the territory. As far as making it back to the finals, everyone knows you can't guarantee that. And with the way that the East is looking, it's going to be hard. Like you can't predict what's going to happen with your roster and other people's roster. But at some point, we got to talk about Ime Udoka. So he was incredible for a first-year coach. And
Got to the finals.
you can't, I don't know who to lay this stuff at the feet of other than him at this point. If we're not, and I know Izzy is not going to stand for Jason Tatum was injured or something like that, but if something like that does not come out, you have to explain to me why Ime Udoka could not find a way to either get through to him or create opportunities that would get him in the rhythm through the course of 6 games. You also cannot, you're going to have to explain to me why Ime Udoka's teams stink so bad in the third quarter. Like they came out of the third quarter in an elimination game. I'm fully expecting them to go back to that play that they ran in the first quarter that ended up getting Tatum the ball on the wing just about unguarded. They didn't run a play. They just like passed it around. It just feels to me like I don't want to hate on him. He's a first-year coach. He's great. He's married to Nia Long. All those things are true. However, he failed them in some areas in this series.
I can't do that though.
No,
ahead,
hold
Pablo.
on. But I think it's a conversation worth having, right? Because the offense, and this is to divulge another text from our text thread. Alabaster, you pointed this out, right?
I'm in trouble.
No, this was a good one. No, this is good from Alabaster because he pointed out like the Celtics immediately decided to start posting up Steph and to attack the Warriors that way, and it was working. And then they went away from it, right? And they went away from it because the Celtics offense does the thing where they are a careening car that just does whatever the hell they want, and it spins wildly out of control. That has happened in every single game. Is that because of Ime Udoka, or is that because of the guys running the offense? And Izzy and Alabaster.
No.
Dominique,
You don't get to say that. You're the coach of the team. If it happens once, maybe the guys
But Dominique-
are wilding. It happens twice, okay. It happened the whole series.
It happened
I
a
saw
lot.
multiple times, Dom, where Jason Tatum got the Steph Curry switch and passed it like that. And it's just all Wiggins had to do was like maybe take a half step toward him and he's giving it up. That's not on Ime.
Okay,
is it?
can I ask a question? Did you see that in game 1?
What's your point?
I mean, my
Because
point
it's more important
is
that he's aggressive now than then.
No, my point is he been doing that the whole damn series. So either Ime Udoka cannot get through to him or Ime Udoka does not realize that he needs to do that. Either way, you either get rid of the star, like we're not moving to this point yet, but you either have to blame the star or you have
I'm
to blame
blaming the
coach.
star.
So
I'm
is
blaming
it-
the star.
what is
He's
the
not
coach's
playing like a star
responsibility?
in this game.
So hold on, I got a question. Can we go into the hypothetical or the imaginary locker room or the film study?
There are
You-
so
you
many
think-
curses being said right now.
Do
in
you
that
think?
hypothetical
Do you
locker room.
think over the course of this series that Ime Udoka ever told Jason Tatum the thing that you think he should have told him?
The thing that I think he should have told that he needs to play aggressive. No,
Right.
I think Ime Udoka probably told him, yeah, look, let's play our offense. Let's get off the ball. Let's make sure early on we don't force anything. They were so afraid of turnovers that they're just, hey, let's move the ball. But
I guess
and
my
this-
point is that's a failing.
Go ahead.
If you believe that it was obvious that should have been done, and you believe that Udoka never brought it up to him, then that's a failing by the head coach.
Well,
I believe somebody told Jason Tatum in his ear, and if they didn't, it's a failure. You need to carry us for a moment, for a quarter, for a half. You need to lead the way, and he didn't. Jaylen Brown did.
So in the box over here, we're blaming the coach. In the box down here, we're blaming the star. In the box down here, Alabaster, the question that I have in terms of the Celtics offense, right, is that they're kind of an offense without a real point guard.
Yes.
Marcus Smart is the guy that they've relied on. Marcus Smart happens to be one of the cartoon characters running off of the canyon only to realize that there's no like ground beneath him. How much of that, as a basketball nerd, I'm curious what you think, is part of this story too?
Well, I actually think that this is pretty illustrative of the Jason Tatum problem, is that they basically made Jason Tatum do superstar stuff. You have to do our playmaking. You have to make our decisions. You have to run our offense. And quite frankly, he doesn't have a fully refined post game yet. He has improved a ton as a passer and a ball handler, but he's not a great true playmaking point forward yet. And I don't know if there's a coaching adjustment that puts him against the Warriors defense that was also a top 5 defense in the league to succeed in that sort of like isolating role. And the one other thing I want to push back on, Dominique, is like the Celtics are not unique in this of getting crushed by the Warriors in third quarters. We've been seeing this for 7 years. Steve Kerr comes out and Steph Curry comes out and they kill people in the third quarters. Like, I don't know if you put that on Udoka. Like, that's Kerr and Curry and Thompson's thing.
I can blame Udoka for ending the third quarter on a run with their best player, Al Horford, and then starting the fourth quarter, resting him on the bench, I guess, presumably for the finish. Like, why are you changing anything? So, I mean, if we are going to see, my issue with this is I think that the Celtics, and maybe this is my own bias, I think the Celtics had more talent and was a deeper, a better team. So
I agree. I agree with that.
If you have the better, so I don't understand how the coach can escape. What are we doing here? I just saw your pale white thumbs as if you agreed with me. So how are we
there's also Steph Curry.
So hold on. How are we absolving the head coach of the losing team, the more talented team, absolving him of any? Like, I'm not here to bash Ime Udoka. I just thought that he deserved a tiny bit of criticism, and y'all all caping up like he was out there with the Washington Generals.
I think the bottom line, Dominique, is who do you blame for all of the turnovers? That to me is maybe the most simplistic way to view how we're going to assign responsibility here. Is it because of the players? Is it because of the coach? Is it because they don't have a point guard? Is it because I honestly don't think this
Izzy looks like he has an answer.
Is the answer, but Izzy seems like he has an answer.
Well, I look, if your big three are Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart, 2 of those 3 showed their worst tonight. Like, Marcus defensively was just not good, was just flopping all over the place. Offensively was not good, questionable effort in the fourth quarter. And all this is going to do in Boston is just rev up all those fears, because they've been scared of this version of Marcus Smart for years. They've blamed Marcus Smart for a lot. They've tried to trade Marcus Smart. Danny Ainge definitely messed around with that. And, they decided, hey, he's our heart. He's going to stay here. But he is not a point guard necessarily. And again, they almost got there. And a lot of people picked them to get there with him at that spot. So it's really hard to say you got to move him or you got to rearrange the lineup and see if, maybe you can get another point guard in there. But I think it's absolutely true, because I do think that Jason Tatum deserves a little bit more of an easy shot possibility every once in a while. And, he didn't have the ball in the post very much, even though I saw Steph Curry strip him twice down there. But he should get more looks down there. He shouldn't have to, for all the credit that he gets for having all these long arms, it's hard to drive through 5 sets of arms with long arms and legs and, be able to get to the basket. So he's got to start down there a little bit more. So I think Marcus Smart's lack of, point guard ability or natural point guard skills is pretty much a little bit of a problem too.
I mean, and also I think we think of point guards a lot like we think of quarterbacks in football, and you expect them to be able to manage the game. And it seems like they struggle, again, to use a football analogy, is they struggle in those pivotal moments where you would need to make decisions, like those high leverage moments where it's about your smarts and your poise more than it's about your athleticism or your scheme. And the point guard is supposed to be the guy who calms you down in those moments, and they don't have one. They've never had one, and that's fine. But also, they had a lot of talent. The coach needs to prevail with that talent.
I'm just remembering that Dominique said this series was over like last week after 5 games, and now I'm realizing why
Draymond,
he's
we're
so
not
mad.
going to talk about Draymond. Draymond,
We
the
should talk
star
about
of
how
the
did
series.
okay.
Oh, we got plenty of time. We just got a clock boost right there.
Oh.
The Drake album just dropped, and I got to do 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
Can we get
let's
sued
go
for playing that.
let's go on to the Warriors
Undoubtedly.
dynasty here, because that gets into Draymond and his
It does.
resurgence.
But
But
to get into Drake.
this is fantastic and juicy. What the Warriors, who have always been light years ahead, that they pulled this off. But it's also fascinating what they're going to do moving forward. They're still a team that's both tethered to the past and the future with their old core and their gaggle of young assets. And they're inching closer to a hard cap, and they're inching closer to maybe having to make a tough decision between Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins and Draymond's contract after next year. And my question for you all is, where do you think the Warriors dynasty goes from here?
I would like to posit a theory about all of the financial constrictions that the Warriors are going to face. They're not going to be that constricting because Joe Lacob is the ideal sort of psychopath rich guy who's going to be like, I would love to pay $450 million to keep Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole and Gary Payton II and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and everyone. I just think that's like Brian
That would
Windhorst.
be a really terrible decision.
So they're not light years ahead, they're
with,
just like-
with luxury tax. Yeah.
They're duffel bags ahead, is what it is at this point. Like, and that's fine. Like, that's exactly what you want from a team that has dynasty potential. You got to spend.
But
You're
I
like,
don't
we can't
think-
all be.
I think we're prisoners of the moment again. This team, I don't believe, has dynasty potential. Like, none of us thought they were going to make it to the finals before the playoffs started. So stop it. This is not.
I think
if
this
they
team
bring
knows-
back this core again next year, we're not talking about them like this is going to be another 3 or 4 year run.
It knows it has to improve. This team knows it has to improve, and they still won a title. And like, you got Jonathan Kuminga, you got Moody, that are players that maybe they can. They've got play, and so they probably will, and they probably will find ways
James
to.
Wiseman is somehow
Yeah,
still
Wiseman,
just
exactly.
hanging around.
And they've got, I mean, Jordan Poole in a place where he just figured out a way to stay on the floor, even though he was like a defensive liability at times. Oh, thanks for the update. And yet he's going to be probably a regular, contributor, obviously, especially in the regular season. That guy might have huge numbers. So I think as long as, they got to play the keep Steph healthy game throughout the regular season, and when they get to the playoffs, we're at this level, we're at that point. As long as he is healthy entering a playoffs, that team with any sort of reasonable amount of talent around him is going to be a finals candidate.
Alabaster.
So I'm gonna have a few follow-up questions here, but like, one, you can't give another max contract to a Clay or Draymond Green. I mean, that just seems silly, but Joe Lacob might be the guy to do it. But the big question I have is, it does seem like they're teetering on dynasty potential again. And do you cash in the chips? Do you cash in Kuminga, who looked like he could be a future star? Do you cash in Moses Moody? Do you cash in James Wiseman? Do you try and acquire someone in their salary slots that could be, a 5th all-star level guy? Because Andrew Wiggins is an all-star starter this year. Like, that is possible. They could be.
And I also wonder if a 4th
16
title gives the potential of like a discount from Draymond Green or Clay to keep making things work, even though I don't think Draymond probably thinks that way. But
Hope not.
Well,
yeah.
Draymond already gave him a discount, I believe, on the last deal. I mean, relatively speaking. He
Steph's
didn't take
been
the
on a
full
discount,
max.
right?
Yep.
No, not anymore.
Until recently, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that was the point that I was making, is you are arguing that they could bring everybody back and that's a dynasty. That's not a dynasty. The answer to your question, or the roster they have now, is not dynastic in my view. Like, this was a great season, but as I said before, no one expected them to, and we don't feel like they're going to become new players next season. I do think that whenever the question is, do we play for the future or do we play for now because we have a window now? You don't have to look very far. Look at the Celtics. The answer is yes. Always play for now, because the Celtics was always the team that was building and had all the assets. So I feel like especially a player like Steph Curry, you I was going to say may not. You will never get another player like that. So if trading away some potential stars in the future means that you can build another dynasty around Steph Curry, the answer to me is obviously yes.
To answer your question, I do think they attempt to cash in on a lot of those pieces because they just become the new version of LeBron where everybody wants to play there. I mean, LeBron himself said he would love to play with Steph Curry.
Those are where the discounts will come. Exactly. The title chasing veterans who are going to want to join up because Dominique, you are right. And by the way, I don't think Joe Lacob needs this motivational speech, but like, dude, you're taking none of this with you into the afterlife. Like, what else are you waiting for? Like, you have a window right now. It is open. And to Dominique's point, I don't think it is a foregone conclusion that the Warriors are going to run over the entire league next year. I do not think that is assured. I would not be surprised to see the Warriors favored to win the title, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion next year. But I think if the window is at all open and you have these players, what the hell else are you waiting for? I mean, the whole thing of wanting to do both, the present and the future, when you have 4 titles in 8 years, concentrate on the ones most